All right, time to dive into some English phrases. And these phrases will help you sound like a natural, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've been speaking English for a while. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a lesson script. And this script is absolutely packed with 20 phrases you'll hear all the time in real conversations. I'm excited to see what gems we uncover today. What do you think?
Well, these phrases are particularly interesting because it's not just about the words themselves, it's about those subtle meanings that they carry. Mastering these phrases isn't just about the grammar, it's about understanding the culture that lies behind the language.
That's what I love about languages. There's always more to learn. So our script kicks off with greetings and introductions, which is fitting. I mean, usually that's how conversations even start. And first up is the classic, how's it going? I'll admit, I've probably overused this one a time or two, but what's the deeper meaning here? It seems so simple on the surface.
It is simple on the surface, which is I think why it's so popular. But you're right, there's more to it than just asking about someone's day. How's it going? Is more of a social signal. It's a way to acknowledge someone, Open the door for interaction. Think of it as a little verbal handshake.
Okay, so it's more about setting a friendly tone than getting like a detailed rundown of their morning commute.
Exactly. You wouldn't launch into a story about your crazy day in response to how's it going? It's about keeping things light and casual. And it's also interesting to consider how this kind of greeting varies across cultures. In some cultures, you might be expected to ask about someone's family, their work, before even jumping into casual conversation.
So it's like there are like unwritten rules about how to start a conversation, depending on where you are.
Precisely. And it's a reminder that language isn't just about words. It's about understanding the cultural context.
This is fascinating. Okay, on to the next greeting in our script. Nice to meet you. This one feels pretty straightforward, especially if you're meeting someone for the first time.
It is straightforward, but that doesn't mean it's not important. Nice to meet you
Is all about showing politeness, a willingness to engage. And it's really the foundation for building rapport.
Right, it sets the stage for a positive interaction. Now, our script also mentions what's up, which feels way more casual.
Yeah, you're right. What's up is definitely more informal. It suggests a sense of familiarity, like you're talking to a friend or, someone you're comfortable with.
Like saying, hey, what's new in your world?
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that the response can be anything from not much to a quick update on what they've been doing.
I'm noticing a pattern here. Even with greetings, there are so many subtle ways to convey different levels of formality.
Okay, let's shift gears and look at expressing gratitude and politeness. The first phrase on our list is thank you so much. I can't imagine there are many cultural differences with this one.
Thank you so much is pretty universal. You're right. It's your go-to for showing appreciation, whether someone held the door open for you or helped you with a big project.
Now, I'm curious about the responses to thank you. Our script mentions no problem, which feels very casual to me. Is it replacing the traditional you're welcome?
That's a great question. No problem does reflect a shift towards informality in modern English. You'll hear it everywhere these days. And while you're welcome is still perfectly fine, especially in more formal situations, no problem conveys a more relaxed, almost like breezy attitude.
So instead of making it a big deal, you're basically saying it was nothing, don't even mention it.
Exactly. It downplays the effort and creates a sense of ease.
I like it. Makes things less stuffy. All right, up next we have could you please? This one's all about making polite requests.
It's a classic for a reason. Think about it. If you need something like another fork at a restaurant, could you please bring me another fork? Sounds much more polite than give me a fork.
That could you please is like adding a spoonful of sugar to help the request go down smoothly. Speaking of requests, let's move on to asking for information. The first phrase we have is, excuse me, can you help me? I feel like I've used this one a lot when traveling.
Oh, it's definitely a lifesaver when you're lost or confused. Imagine you're at a train station and can't find your platform. Starting with excuse me is key because it gets someone's attention politely. And then can you help me? Get straight to the point.
It's like a universal signal for, I need assistance, please be kind.
Exactly. And it works in so many situations, not just when you're traveling.
Now, let's talk about a phrase that's probably every language learner's best friend. What does this mean? I know I've used this one countless times.
Don't be shy about using this phrase. It shows that you're eager to learn, expand your vocabulary. You can even point to the word or phrase that you're asking about to avoid any confusion.
So much better than pretending you understand and then getting lost later on. Plus, asking questions can lead to interesting conversations and insights into the culture.
Absolutely. It shows that you're engaged and interested in learning. All right, so we've covered greetings, expressing gratitude, asking for information. Now let's move on to some phrases that are essential for navigating everyday conversations. Our script has a few gems in this category that are worth exploring. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm always looking for ways to make my conversations flow more naturally. What have we got?
Well, the first one is, I'm not sure. It seems simple, but it can be incredibly useful in social situations.
Yeah, I can see that. Sometimes you just don't have an answer right away, and make sure buys you some time without sounding clueless.
Exactly. It's all about acknowledging the question without feeling pressured to, invent an answer on the spot. Plus, it often leads naturally into a follow-up, like, let me double check, or I'll find out.
So it's not about admitting defeat. It's
Yeah.
about showing that you're willing to get the right information. I like it. Okay, let's switch gears to something a bit more positive. The script highlights "that sounds great," which just screams enthusiasm.
You're right. It's all about conveying positive energy. Imagine a friend suggests trying a new restaurant. A heartfelt, "that sounds great," not only expresses your interest, but also makes them feel good about their suggestion.
It's like a verbal high five. Okay, now for a phrase that I find really interesting because it can be interpreted in different ways. I see. It seems straightforward, but I have a feeling it has some hidden depths.
You're absolutely right. I see is fascinating because it doesn't always mean agreement. It's often more about signaling that you've processed the information and are following along.
So in a way, it's more about being a good listener than expressing your own opinion.
Precisely. Let's say your boss is explaining a new project and you say, I see. You're showing that you're paying attention, understanding the details. But you might not be ready to give your feedback just yet.
It's like a subtle way of saying, okay, keep going, I'm with you. That's really useful. Now, how about what do you think? This one feels like a classic way to invite someone to share their perspective.
It is a classic, and for good reason. What do you think? Shows that you value someone's opinion and you want to hear their thoughts. It opens the door for a genuine exchange of ideas.
Whether you're deciding on a movie or brainstorming a project, that simple question shows that you're interested in collaboration.
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of partnership, respecting different viewpoints.
Okay, now for a phrase that I personally use all the time, let me check. It's my go-to when I need a moment to gather my thoughts or look something up. It saved me from countless awkward silences.
Let me check is a brilliant way to buy yourself some time gracefully. Imagine a client asks for information that you don't have at your fingertips. A calm, let me check my notes and get back to you, sounds much more professional than, panicking or making something up on the spot.
It projects a sense of competence and control. Okay, we've explored some everyday conversation essentials. Now let's dive into socializing and making plans. Our script starts with, do you want to? Which seems like the most natural way to invite someone to do something.
You're right. It's the foundation of countless social interactions. Do you want to grab lunch? Do you want to see a movie? It's simple. It's direct. It opens the door to shared experiences.
And a simple yes or let's do it seals the deal. But what about those times when you can't accept an invitation? The script mentions, I'm sorry, I can't, which seems like a good starting point.
It is, but sometimes it can sound a bit blunt on its own. Adding a brief explanation softens the blow and shows that you're not rejecting the person, just their specific request. Something like, I'm sorry I can't, I already have plans, or I have to work late that night.
It's all about those little touches of empathy, making the other person feel heard and understood, even if you can't get what they're asking.
Exactly. And it also leaves the door open for making plans in the future. Instead of just, I can't, you could say, I can't this time, but maybe next week.
I love that. It's a way of saying, I value our connection, even if our schedules don't align right now.
Precisely. It's about maintaining those relationships, showing that you're interested in spending time together.
Okay, we're making great progress. Now let's move on to common expressions. First up, that's interesting. Now, this one can be tricky because it can sound genuine or sarcastic depending on the delivery. I've definitely misjudged the tone of this one a time or two.
You're not alone. That's interesting. Requires careful navigation. When delivered with genuine curiosity and a follow-up question, it shows that you're engaged in the conversation. But if it's said with a flat tone or a raised eyebrow, it can convey disinterest or even sarcasm.
So it's all about those nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the facial expression, the overall vibe.
Precisely. Context is key with this phrase. It's a reminder that communication is about so much more than just the words we say.
All right, for our last phrase in this section I'll let you know. This one feels like a classic way to buy yourself some time and avoid making a decision on the spot. I'm curious to hear your take on this one.
Yeah, it feels like a polite way to say, I need to think about it, without actually saying it. What are your thoughts? Well, it is polite, but it's also incredibly versatile. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Is the master of non-committal responses. It keeps your options open, avoids putting pressure on the situation, gives you time to gather more information before making a decision.
So it's a perfect way to handle those situations where you don't want to commit one way or the other right away. For example, if someone invites you to an event, but you need to check your calendar first, I'll let you know, is a graceful way to respond without feeling obligated to say yes or no on the spot.
Exactly. You're acknowledging the invitation without making a promise that you might not be able to keep. It's about managing expectations, navigating social situations with finesse.
I like that. It's like a subtle art form. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored greetings, expressions of gratitude, ways to ask for information, essentials for everyday conversation, tips for socializing and making plans, and even some common expressions that can be tricky to master. Wow, that's a lot of phrases.
It is. But remember, it's not just about memorizing the phrases themselves. It's about understanding the cultural context behind them and how they're used in real-life situations.
Right. We've talked about how even simple phrases like, how's it going, can have different meanings depending on the culture and context.
Exactly. Language is so much more than just words. It's a reflection of our values, our customs, and our ways of interacting with the world around us.
That's what makes language learning so fascinating. You're not just learning words, you're gaining insights into another culture.
So to our listeners, I have a challenge for you. Pick one of the phrases we've discussed today and try it out in a real conversation.
I agree. Even practicing one phrase a day can make a huge difference in how confident and natural you feel speaking English.
It's all about taking small steps and building on your success. And as you continue your language learning journey, remember that there's always more to discover. I'll leave you with this thought. How do these seemingly simple phrases shape our perceptions and interactions? What other hidden rules of language might you uncover? Keep your curiosity alive, and your journey with English will be endlessly rewarding.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.